Hi and welcome to the Geek Legion of Doom. This is a TV review and I'll be having a look at Black Scorpion, the TV series. So the TV series is a spin-off of a two movie franchise, when I say franchise, that was produced by Roger Corman and starred Joan Severance as the sort of female vigilante crime fighter Black Scorpion. In the TV series, Darcy Walker is recast, played by Michelle Lintel, so Joan Severance isn't in the TV series. And really this follows the kind of continuing adventures. It really follows from the second film, following Black Scorpion, who is a kind of police officer sort of during the day, and by night she becomes the sort of the dominatrix looking Black Scorpion. So it's now the Black Scorpion films, but a pair of the films were very, very campy films. But they kind of had an element of sexiness in there. They both had some sort of brief nudity in it. That isn't the case of the TV show. The TV show is really just a more of a kind of a family kind of kids TV series really. Although it does actually feature, although Michelle Lintel replaces Jane Severance, some of the bad guys actually are played by the same actors. And I'll come on to that in just a second. Now this sort of TV programme, I have to say, if you're a fan of the 60s Batman TV show, this is, I guess, the closest other TV show that is anything like that. And it really does take some cues from that. And you've even got some actors from the Batman TV show, including Adam West and Frank Gorshin, who actually play some of the bad guys in this TV show. Although I have to say it is also very reminiscent of the Batman and Robin film. This series was out in 2001 and is massively sort of over the top and colourful, extremely campy. So that's not going to be for everyone in today's sort of more gritty, realistic sort of style superhero, films and TV shows that we sort of see these days. When this one came out, really, this was, as I say, it was a throwback to the sort of the 60s Batman shows, and even some of the villains looked sort of suspiciously like, sort of typical Batman villains, and some of the costumes that they wore, and particularly garish. And the interesting thing here, I have to say, on a bit of a tangent, when people sort of complain that they sort of change things from the comics into the kind of a live action film, I think watching this TV show is a good example of why they should sometimes do that. Now, Black Scorpion isn't actually based on an existing comic. It was an original idea, but nevertheless, a lot of the costumes and stuff are literally would come straight out of like what you would see in the comics, and they simply just don't look particularly good on the screen. So if you're sort of the type of person who sort of complains, oh, they've kind of changed so-and-so's costume, but they've changed Hawkeye's costume from the Avengers film, and they've kind of made it kind of this ultimate version. In certain circumstances, some costumes can translate, but some can't. And these ones, if you kind of watch them, are good examples of ones that, if they were real comic book characters, really wouldn't translate because they just look ridiculous. So that's a thing to think of. I think when you're looking at sort of comic book films in general, some of these costumes, and they kind of look, in a way, they kind of look quite cool in a kind of retro sort of funny way, but you wouldn't take it seriously. And if something like this appeared on screen, you would just think that's crap. Now, pretty much the premise of this show was you had a kind of a new supervillain every week, some of which returned from particularly the same actors that were in the #2 film. They had Gangster, Prankster, and Aftershock, and they were actually played by the same people who played it in the #2 film. And you've got Breathtaker, who was the villain from the first film, also returns, but he's actually played by Adam West in this, which I think he was played by a different actor in the first film. So that pretty much the whole of this TV series is just one villain after another. The last two films, you've kind of got almost a kind of climax with it, that they kind of team up, try and take down sort of Black Scorpion together. And it's fairly simplistic, I have to say. In regards to what are the best sort of episodes, I think probably the best episode I would say is No Stone Unturned, and the bad guy at that one is a woman called Medusa, who's kind of this one who's obsessed with her own beauty and whatnot. Now, the other thing I would say, there's plenty of, although it's not an adult TV show, and there's not the sort of nudity that there was in the kind of the films, there's lots of pretty babes in this film. So if you kind of want to watch pretty girls dressed up in kind of cosplay looking costumes, you may get a kick out of this, because there's some quite inventive costumes, and all the women in this are like, you know, I think Victoria Silvstedt is in one of them, and there's lots of attractive women in here, so that's kind of fun to look at. I don't think Michelle Lindell was nearly as good as Joan Severance. Joan Severance is, I think, over 6 foot. Michelle Lindell is quite small, so that's quite a visual difference there. I mean, Joan Severance, when she would, you know, when you had fight scenes, she would kind of be the same height as a lot of these guys, whilst this actress is considerably smaller and, you know, just smaller built, so she doesn't really look very imposing, and it kind of, you know, that's just a personal preference, I suppose, but there you go. But it really, I can't really recommend it, because it does get kind of tiresome, because it really is the same thing just over and over again. It just sort of rinse and repeat ultimately. So it's kind of, the joke wasting, it's kind of fun watching it for, you know, just for a film for kind of 90 minutes, when you kind of got to watch, you know, a whole season. It did only last one season. The kind of joke gets a bit thin. So it's okay just watching the odd episode here and there, but at the end of the day, it does get a little bit boring. So I'll have to give this TV show a 3.5 out of 10. Have you seen it? Let me know what your views are. Leave me a comment. I look forward to you next time. Bye for now.